Hey guys, this is Austin. So there are some new Beats by Dre headphones. Now that might not sound exciting on its own, however, take a look around back, you'll see there's something a little different. These are $130. For headphones, that's still kind of expensive. However, when you consider that most Beats are $200, $300, $400, these guys are actually a little bit more affordable. So if you guys remember, Apple actually bought Beats by Dre a couple years ago, and these are some of the first headphones that have actually come out that are made by Apple. Change the way you hear sound. We'll see about that. I'm a little bit skeptical. So, you guys probably know the Beats by Dre have a reputation. Typically, they're a lot more bass heavy and maybe not the greatest value for the dollar. Interesting carrying case. I guess it says Beats EP on it. So they actually do come in a couple colors. So this is the blue model, which I actually kind of think looks cool. So even though Apple owns Beats by Dre now, you're actually still getting a standard 3.5mm headphone jack. Because courage. You know what, they feel pretty nice. We're getting actual metal here. Everything is nicely padded. The ear cups do look a little small. And it just so happens that I have my color matching Google Pixel phone here. I think it's only natural that we start with a little bit of Dre. Yeah, they sound like Beats. There's definitely a lot of bass involved, which is not really a surprise, and honestly, I think a lot of people do prefer some bass. The mids are definitely subdued though. That's definitely sort of a Beats characteristic of the headphones, but I don't hate it. Man, there's so much low end though. It does kind of overpower. Okay, so these actually are a bit better than I expected, but to actually properly compare them, I have some of my other favorite pairs of headphones. So first of all, I have the Grado SR80Es. These are actually probably my favorite pair of headphones around. So they're a little bit more of a specialized pair of headphones. First of all, I think they look awesome with the retro styling, but more importantly, they're a really nice sounding open back pair of headphones. So the idea is with an open back headphone is that you're gonna get a little bit more of a wider sound. You have a little bit more sound stage, and typically it's a little bit more detail on the high end. But the downside is pretty much everyone can hear exactly what you're listening to. That is where these Status Audio CB1s come in. So you guys have probably seen me talk about these a couple times in videos. However, especially considering that they're closed back headphones, they sound incredible. Yeah, these CB1s are no joke. So this is a much more neutral sound, so while they're a little bit more bassy than something like the SR80Es, they don't even come close to the Beats. However, because it's a more neutral sound, I actually really like using these for things like video editing. Sure, it's not like a completely flat studio monitor, but it's a really nice blend of pretty much anything sounds at least good on these. So we got a lot of headphones here, we got some phones, we got this looks like a little bit of a disaster, right? But what I want to know is, really what are the strengths and weaknesses of each one? And more importantly, are the Beats, which are slightly more expensive than these pairs, actually worth it? Okay, so after listening to all three of these pairs of headphones for a little while, I think that there's some really clear differences and reasons why you might want to pick up any of them. So to start with, we have the CB1s. These are still some of my favorites, and if I had to pick one pair of headphones to listen all of my music on, it would be these. There's solid padding here, you can fold them up, and while I'm not a huge fan of the gold color, these are easily the most comfortable pair of headphones here to listen to for a long time. And the best part is, these are actually the cheapest at $80. On the other end, we have the Grado SR80Es. Now, I will have no shame admitting that I am a huge fanboy for these headphones. Not only do they look cool in my opinion, and sure, they're not the most comfortable, but the sound is just unique. Where the SR80s really shine is in the high end. So it's incredibly clear, and honestly, the music just sounds detailed. There's very little muddiness, which is definitely something you can find, especially on the Beats. However, there's not a ton of bass, and honestly, for some types of music, such as hip hop, they're okay, but they do fall flat. And falling flat is something that the Beats do not do. This is a very punchy, a very rich, a very warm sound. Now, some people will not like this, and of course, music is a thing that is very much based on your own personal preference. So for certain types of music, such as hip hop, which is kind of Beats by Dre hip hop, yeah, it makes sense. These sound good. Compared to the Grados, they are nowhere near as detailed, and compared to the CB1s, you're getting a much more, I don't want to say a muddy sound, but certain tracks do not sound as clean as they do on the Statuses. Personally, I don't think these are going to pull me away from the Grados and the Statuses. However, whether you like the look of them, whether you like that warm sound, for $130, the Beats EPs are not bad headphones. But of course, music is all about personal preference. So I'm curious, which one of these headphones would you go for? Definitely be sure to let me know in the comments below, and I of course will have links to all of these headphones in the description. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.